Was the decision to release Ian Doyle a personal one?
A young boy's life was at stake. I ran the probability of his survival, and it wasn't good. If you want to punish me for taking a risk, then I encourage you to do that. But do not put the rest of my team on trial for something that I suggested.
Calm down, Agent.
This is Calm, and it's Doctor.
Here is the thing. I've always been fascinated with criminal minds. Spencer Reid would always be my baby boy. And the show both fed me Shema Moore looking quite fine and also helped stoke my fascination with psychopathy and how the human mind works, especially for unsubs. A bit disturbing, I know, but what can I say? Even though I cannot stand police procedurals in any form because propaganda is real. And in this house, we do not like or support the police in any way. Criminal Minds was quite the bit of entertaining fiction. So yeah, fiction is a big word for how I consume that piece of media. And although the same can be said for the series of books that I'm about to review, it is quite clear that Jennifer Lynn Barnes is someone who did study psychopathy in-depthly, which led to her including that in the premise of her young adult series, The Naturals. And yes, I said young adult, which is a perfect segue to address the parts of the story that I wasn't so keen on and the elephant in the room, the ages of the characters. Sorry, I cannot take teenage FBI profilers seriously. Like, I know Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes for a young audience, and I love that for her, that she's giving that genre option in the type of reading materials available to young adults. Because although older readers have entirely proliferated that industry, which is so unfair because, like, we were all young ones. I was 14 once, looking for books for my age and older that I could read and enjoy. And I hate that younger readers are slowly losing that because the Agbaya, now that's Yoruba for adults who refuse to fucking act their age and instead want to tussle with much younger people. The Agbayas in publishing don't want them to have anything focused on them. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I might just make a video addressing that because it gets to me. But yeah, back to the topic of conversation. Younger me would have bought the ages of these characters and ate them all up. But come on, if you really think about it, there is no way in hell anyone is buying 17-year-old FBI profilers. Let's be real. But before I get into all of that, what is The Naturals all about? It's a series that has this group of troubled and very traumatized teenagers, 17 to 18 years old, be brought together by the FBI so that their talents can be used to solve cases that the FBI is not being able to solve. You have our lead character, Cassie, whose mother was brutally taken and or murdered while she was a child. I say and or because for the last almost 6 years, a mother's body was never discovered, even though the pool of blood at the crime scene was calculated to have been way too much for whoever's blood that was, that is Cassie's mom, i.e. Cassie's mom, to have survived. But since her mother was a grifter who pretended to be a psychic, she had taught Cassie everything she knew, hence making Cassie quite the profiler. But in addition to Cassie, you had Dean, the second profiler, or actually first, because he's been in the Naturals programs for much longer, who also happens to be the son of a serial killer who was captured by the FBI, and thus was how Dean found himself in the program since he was a child. Actually, they are all still children at this point, so more of a child. Then you have Leah, the only person of color in the group, although you would never know this because other than us being told that she has Asian features, we get absolutely nothing else about her heritage, but I can at least understand it a bit, right? Leah was raised in a cult from when she was a child till she was able to escape. And being a cult that was led by a charismatic piece of shit meant that she can tell at a glance when people are lying. Also makes sense that we don't deal with her heritage because she really doesn't get much of that where she was raised. Then there's Michael, whose father is an abusive dickhead committing fraud, who, when caught by the FBI, offers up his son as his get out of a jail card. Thus, Michael joins the program, and because he's had to live with his abusive shithead of a father, he's gotten very good at reading emotions, like very, very good. Then finally, you have Sloane. I'm not going to get into our family's history because that's spoilery, and unlike the others whose family history we are given insight to in the first quarter of the first book in the series, Sloane's family story doesn't come until much later. But Sloane is someone with a mind for data. She catalogs it. She stores seemingly unimportant information. And brief spoiler here, she's one of the queer rep we get in the series. Now, these kids are watched over by certain FBI agents. Not going to go into names because of spoilers, and together they form a sort of de facto family. So that's the premise of the entire story. Not bad, except for, like I said, these characters are way too young. Every time Cassie or Michael or Leah or Sloane or Dean talk, I'm like, here, sit down, have a cookie, go to school, make friends, flirt with more kids your age. What are you doing? How is anyone letting you do this? How is this in any way believable or acceptable? I'm sorry, but I couldn't take them seriously. They were kids. Secondly, I think the books were too short. Each of them could have done well with an extra 100 pages or more to have the story be properly fleshed out. We could have had so much more. Give us time to breathe. Let us be invested in the characters, in the mysteries, in the unsubs. Like I stated earlier, I was particularly fascinated by the unsubs, and I felt like spending more time would have let us have a clearer picture of who they are. A longer story would have created more back and forth. It would have enhanced the draw, the pull. It would have helped maintain the tension of the story. Jennifer Lynn Barnes sacrificed a properly told story for a much shorter one, and that makes me sad. But you know what else makes me even more sad? The fact that the story wasn't darker, wasn't bloodier, but that is me with my adult desires crowding into the YA space. So I know that that isn't necessary. The story is quite good as is and dark enough for a YA audience, but I just wanted a bit more, you know? Then there's the almost clinical language that occasionally pulled from the story. It's so strange because sometimes you're reading the book and everything's all honky dory, and then boom, Jennifer Lynn Barnes starts riffing off the story, and you realize that she's infusing it with psychobabble, which sometimes meant that there are tonal shifts in the story that was a bit jarring at times. And this definitely affected my reading experience and the believability of the romance, which honestly, I could have done without personally. In fact, I can very well say that if this series didn't have romance, I think I would have enjoyed it more. Another thing that I couldn't stand, the love triangle. Now, I know the story is dated. It reads like it was written in the mid 2010s, you know, the era of, say, Pretty Little Liars and Vampire Diaries and maybe the originals and definitely Gossip Girl, right? Which also meant, unfortunately, that Jennifer Lynn Barnes had to take the road of the 2010 romances, that's the love triangles. We, the reader, were saddled with the love triangles, the one where you know only one boy has hope and the other one is just living in dreams and delusions. Like, bruh, you don't stand a chance in hell. Get away from her. Your delulu is showing. Also, the characters weren't as fleshed out as I would have liked. Not like Jennifer Lynn Barnes didn't try her best to flesh them out. She did. And the way she did it was pretty cool. And I will discuss that in the good slash things I liked segment of this video. But your girl is greedy. Why would I settle for okay when I could ask for more? We all need to do it more like Oliver, and I'm nothing if not a student of literature. Then there's the overall final baddies of the story. Their motivation didn't really make sense. And I mean, I get it. Institutions like that aren't really built on sense. Spoiler alert, it is a cult after all. But I wanted more. I wanted to make sense of them. I wanted to get as deep a dive into their minds like the other baddies and psychopaths we had experienced prior to them showing up. And we never got that. And I think that that kind of did a disservice to the story we've been getting so far. And I'm miffed about it. But you know what? Before you all think I did not enjoy this series, which, full disclosure, I did. Like, I liked it so much, I binged it in like 5 days, was reading a book a day, and that was with me working some days during the holidays. I had a blast with this series, so much so that Jen, can we have like another book or two or three? Like, I need more in this series. Come on, you can't stop at 12. You can't. Petition to have Jennifer Lynn Barnes dip her toes back into this world and with these characters. But yeah, onto the good part and the things I enjoyed in this series. Starting with the pacing. Let me just say this. There is something about the quick pace of short chapters that just makes a story fly. And the short chapters that was in every book of the Natural series kept the beats of the story going strong. It meant that every chapter was important. There wasn't any unnecessarily dragged out scene. Each scene blended into the next in a way that made you ever more invested in the story that you can't and couldn't look away. It was so good. Then there's Jennifer Lynn Barnes' almost clinical approach to the story of psychopathy and how that was reflected in her taking us into the minds of the killers in each book. Some of them were more scary than the others, but I could totally see where she made that psychology degree work. And I know you all are probably thinking, but Noria, didn't you have a problem with the clinical language, hence why you put it in the bad segment of this review? Why is it now in good? People, it's called balance, you all. It's called rage. I crack myself up. But seriously, the language works when what is being discussed is the unsubs. Why they think the way they do, why they act the way they do. Matter of fact, in the parts where they are discussing the unsubs and aren't doing so from a clinical perspective, I'm always left feeling quite meh. And it quite exacerbates the childish feeling I get. Like, those are the instances that cement my thoughts of, look at these kids playing at being FBI profilers. So, you see, the clinical language can work. It just has to be put to use in the right times. Also, another good point for me in the series is the absence of sexual violence. Now, let me preface this by saying that I don't mean that media that features sexual violence in showing of the depravity of killers are in any way not good. Some of them are done very well. And the ones that work for me work because they fit into the story that is being told. They are not plugged in for the gratification of a viewing audience. Game of Thrones. And with this book, I was expecting it, especially with the specific interest of the killer whose mind we are plunged into for book 2. Is MO, is victims. I was convinced that there was going to be sexual violence. And to be fair, if Jennifer had written it or implied it in some ways, I might not have minded because it would have fit, but she didn't. And when we understood the players and factors that be behind the killer and their motivations in the book, I was like, makes sense. That's the reason why. Side note, if you're someone who has read The Natural, specifically book 2, Killer Instinct, and are like, Noria, what the fuck are you talking about? Drop your confusion in the comments and I will try and explain. Then there's book 3 and 4. Yes, I put the all as books in the good section because they are that good. The mysteries, the unsolved, the call back to the overarching mystery of the story, the slow unraveling, the realizing how everything ties together, the revelation of the big bag, the only shit of it all. Books 3 and 4, you all, especially the cliffhanger of book 3 and the entirety of book 4. Solid use of a great build-up and seeing everything come together, fantastic. Then there's book 4.5. Yes, I added another book to this list, but book 4.5, which is titled 12, is so good. Now, epilogue stories are not my absolute favorite, but this was needed. Why? Because Jennifer Lynn Barnes finally did the thing. She finally aged these characters up, and it was spectacular. I could enjoy the story. It had everything the Naturals had given me so far, with the added bonus of gone was the voice in my head that these characters are teenagers playing at profilers. Like, now I could believe it. Now it was just everything I wanted.
You are everything that I wanted.
She aged them by like only 6 to 7 years, but it made all the difference. Then there is the stakes. Now, heads up people, our Naturals, especially Cassie, mild spoiler warning, she gets kidnapped a lot in this book. And honestly, it works because these are children playing adult games. If they didn't stare into the eyes of death every book, it would have stripped this book of believability for me completely. So of course, sometimes the adults beat them. Sometimes the adults catch them. That just adds to the tension of the story, makes it work even more. What else works in this entire series? The central mystery we had running through the entire series. It's like something ticking. It's like something ticking at the back of your mind. And when we resolve everything in Bad Blood, good shit. That's some good shit. I mean, book one was okay. Book two was actually pretty good. I was kind of hooked in book three until we got to the last two chapters. And then my brain went, what? What was that? Fuck! I need more, which I ended up getting. But yeah, so good. So fucking good. It was weaved so neatly. The callbacks we did, oh, it made my brain go brrr. But in a good way. I'm probably not making sense to neurotypicals, I know, but my people that get it, get it. This is a brrr book. Like Dancing in Clay's brrr book. Also, all the books enhance the story and have Cassie as the core focus here. But each of the book focuses on the issues and trauma of one of the other kids in a way that just makes my heart go like, my heart. When I realized it by book three, because it's by book three that you realize, because book two was more focused on Dean, so you're like, okay. Then book three is Sloane's trauma, and I'm like, yo, what will book four be? But also, there's still Leah and Michael, so we won't get one person. And then Jennifer didn't leave anybody behind, because we got both of them. Both of them. My heart, big brained. Jennifer, Mrs., I don't know, but that was really big brain of you, man. Oh my God, so good. And then we have 12, which I already mentioned had aged them up, but then it called back to one of their previous cases, showed how they are growing, how they've created the system for themselves. I love them. What a lovely wrap to the series. Like, I want more books, but honestly, if 12 was the last we get, I'm fine. So yeah, get the naturals, y'all. Sometimes my brain flashes back to those fictional kids, and I'm like, I hope my fictional kids are doing well. I hope they're still keeping their little families, this found family of theirs. I hope they are happy. I hope they help and discover more kids like themselves. I hope they continue to embrace all of themselves and that it is such a great experience for them. My babies, God, I love having fictional kids. But yeah, that's the end of this review. Get the naturals or not. If it isn't your cup of tea, that's fine. It's not for everybody, but for those for whom it is their cup of tea, it is tea that slaps. Thanks to Sarah, one of my patrons, for giving me yet something else to add to my list of makes my brain happy so I can hyperfixate on. If you'd like to support me in my hyperfixations, do consider supporting me on Patreon. I have different tiers on there. You can choose whichever suits you because I know how terrible the financial situation is. The dollar is currently $1 to about 1,610 naira. You heard that right. $1 is a 1,610 naira my currency. To give you context, 8 years ago it was 150 naira to $1. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. The world is going to shit in a basket, and we're all just watching it happen, powerless to do anything but lend our voices. Which, speaking of, use yours. Speak up about the things that matter to you, both your interests that you love and want others to love as well. I, Sarah, requesting for me to do a review of the series, but also about the ongoing genocide in Palestine, the war in Sudan, the genocide in Congo, the pending invasion of Haiti, the bullshit of the Hugo Awards. Please pick up on these things. And until my next video, remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism. Bye.